Hey everybody, this is basketball loving Dr. NBA. Today I have an interesting story to share with you. While living in this world, people usually find a goal that they won't give up on, and people devote their entire lives into fulfilling that goal. There are especially a lot of mindsets like this in sports, and in some categories, players that compete for the throne look like they're actually competing in the battlefield. And if the competitiveness gets more fierce, there are huge amounts of adrenaline that rush through their bodies, making them heat up. If that happens, the body goes into a state where they cannot feel pain for an instant. On that note, today we will talk about a warrior who worked his ass off from the start till his body was left in the ashes in the end. Patrick Ewing. He lived with injuries throughout his career, but he came back with overwhelming forces, enough to take over the highest league in the world, the NBA. And he even went on to become the #1 center in the league. And because he was so devoted into winning the championship and he was a leader, Ewing never showed any weakness when it came to pain. And even when he injured his thigh enough to not be able to jump, he never showed any weak spots when he was on the court. Just like the character from Slam Dunk, Takenori, Akagi, giving up everything in order to fulfill his dream, we will see if his devotion turned out to be a happy ending in this video. In 1962, in a small island north of America, Patrick Ewing was born in Jamaica, and he was a child who enjoyed playing soccer and cricket. He had a housewife mother and a mechanic for a father, and he lived with 6 other siblings in a harmonic family. But because his home was not financially well, his family immigrated to the United States, starting first with his mother, taking 4 years in total until 1975, and Ewing was the last one to arrive there. At the time, he was 12 years old and at 6'1", and getting the attention of the neighborhood children, he started to play basketball, and he started to take interest in it as well. And a year later, when he was about to graduate middle school, he was at 6'6", and a year after that, with his fast-growing weight, he was at 6'10", and his legendary career started when he had enrolled into the high school basketball team. Ewing looked like an adult playing with children. With his amazing physique and power, he took down all the opposing teams. And as a result, starting from the 77-78 season till he graduated 4 years later, he won 77 wins and lost only 1 in the Massachusetts state and won 3 championships. Plus that, in his graduating year, he had an average of 22.7 points and 15 rebounds and 8 blocks, showing great stats. With this amazing defense performance, Ewing went straight to Georgetown University and kept his legacy going as a center. He was a key member in the team, even though Ewing was only a freshman. And just like high school, he took over the university stage, and he made all the strong teams in the NCAA tournament fall before him, and made it to the finals without a single loss. And the last opponent would be the North Carolina University, and playing better than usual, Ewing had 11 rebounds and 4 blocks on that day, shutting them down, showing the best of defense, and putting up 23 points with huge slam dunks to go with it, finished the game by a 1-point deficit, and the victory was taken from him by Michael Jordan himself. The shot that Jordan had made with 17 seconds left in the game flipped a situation where Ewing was leading by 1 point. And plus that, because of a mistake a Georgetown player had made, the two's battle had ended with Ewing's loss. But they still had a chance at the championship. So, when he was in his 3rd year, he led the team to the championship again. And they faced off against Houston University, led by Hakeem Olajuwon. Both players had a heartbreaking memory of losing the championship by a single shot. So the game against one another was a fierce battle with no loose ends at all. And so, with the attention of everyone, The battle between these two's egos ended with Ewing's win by a 9-point victory, and he won the MOP award that's given to the best player in university. And after the season ended, he entered the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics and had the honor of becoming a gold medalist. And soon after, he was known as the best prospect in the States. And graduating a year later, he entered the 1985 NBA draft. And in the lottery, the New York Knicks had gotten the first pick, and they picked Patrick Ewing with the most excited face ever. And they gave him the highest salary on the team in order to start their bright future together. Getting the excited attention from the New York fans, Patrick Ewing was a starting member in the opening game. And with the head coach's orders of putting defense first, he focused on rebounds and blocks. And after succeeding in doing so, he ran to the opponent's paint zone. And with these tactics for points, rebounds, and blocks, he had the highest average for all three of these categories in the team. And he was on his way for the Rookie of the Year award. And at the same time, he was picked as an All-Star. But opposite from his success, his team's win rate was below 30%, and they're ranked 20th out of all 23 teams in the NBA. So the New York fans, who expected to make the playoffs that year, were disappointed in Patrick Ewing. But the New York Knicks actually had a lot of injured players, so the team stats couldn't have been good, and Ewing filling those empty spaces by himself was somewhat of a reach. And plus that, after playing only 50 games, he had injured his knee, and he was in a situation where he had to undergo surgery. And from there, Ewing's knees, when it came to athletic performance, had started to drop drastically. But, not wanting an injury to take hold of his career, he started weight training to increase his endurance and build muscle. And he practiced shooting relentlessly at the gym and trained on his basics every single day. Even though he didn't make the playoffs in his second year as well, with the team rebuild in the next season, they were 8th in the Eastern Conference and made it to the playoffs. And the result was, they got eliminated in the first round. But Patrick Ewing was not an amateur anymore because he stepped foot in the playoffs, so the New York fans were anticipating more in the next upcoming season. And as if he was answering the fans, he went around winning games, and at the end of that, the Knicks were 52 wins and 30 losses, coming second in the Eastern Conference. At the time, being the main defender, he was 7 foot tall, having a giant's physique. And having an 8-foot wingspan, he shut down all the opponent's will to attack on offense. Because of his injury, he always kept the knee brace on, and his performance did drop because of surgery, but he had an above average performance when it came to speed and jumping compared to others in his position, and he was still showing aggressiveness on transitions as well. And he had an unstoppable power force, and once he gained momentum, no one could stop him. While on offense, with his pattern of getting past the defenders with his long stride, then slamming a dunk 2 steps after, the opposing team really could do nothing to stop him. And because he was strong and decent at dribbling, when he was posting up with his back against defenders, he would take the hook shot or drive the ball to the rim. And plus that, his mid-range shot was also decent, so he had the capability of shooting from range in his repertoire. His shooting range was close to the 3-point line, and he was shooting from a very high point, so defenders blocking him was nearly impossible. With these various offensive tactics and his amazing defense, Ewing took down a lot of teams, and in the playoffs he showed this as well. In the first round against Charles Barkley, leading the Philadelphia 76ers, he shut them down 3-0. And after that, he made it to the second round for the first time, facing off against Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, and losing the championship to him. In university, Ewing wanted to return the favor, so he played to the fullest. And even though they lost the first game after a fierce battle, in the second game he shut down Jordan for sure, and at the same time won by a 17-point deficit. On that day, Jordan, who was shut down by the strong defense, only put up 15 points, and Ewing, who humiliated him and was now confident, went into the third and fourth game and was completely destroyed by Michael Jordan, who put up 40 and 47 points. And this point streak kept going on in the fifth and sixth game, and Ewing, who was only able to stop him once, would eventually kneel before Michael Jordan once again. Burying the loss from before, Patrick Ewing, entering his fifth year in the 89-90 season, determined. He had suddenly hit his prime, having an average of 28.6 points and 10.9 rebounds, and 4 blocks, putting up great stats. And through that, Ewing would become the #1 center in the NBA for the first time. And in the next season, without much change, he showed great performances, making the New York fans expect a championship even more. And taking that expectation, Ewing entered the playoffs, and surprisingly, in the first game by a 41-point deficit, was completely and utterly destroyed. The opponent would be none other than Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, and he won the next 2 games without showing any mercy. And on the other side, Patrick Ewing was eliminated right away. And so, he had become a sacrifice to Jordan's first championship ever. And the New York Knicks, who could not be satisfied with only making the playoffs, changed their system completely in order to win. And in that process, someone named Pat Riley had taken the wheel. And he was the head coach for the LA Lakers and was known as a legend. And he led other legends, such as Magic Johnson and Abdul-Jabbar, for 4 championships. And living up to his name, he had made the team much stronger. At the same time, the 91-92 season had started. Patrick Ewing and the new players that had joined showed rough and tough defense for the first time. And it really looked like only the strong could survive in this league when seeing this. And with their fighting spirit, they took down the obstacles that were ahead of them. And finishing the 82 games in the regular season, Ewing entered the playoffs, and facing off against the Detroit Pistons in the first round, they destroyed them in the first game by a 34-point deficit. And in the remaining games, they won 3 games first and made their way to the second round. And there was awaiting Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. But Ewing was no longer a loser rotting in his past humiliations anymore. From the start of the first game, he showed overwhelming force and took over the opponent's paint zone. And on defense, he showed steel fence-like performances. On this day, Ewing put up 3 more points than Michael Jordan. 34 points, 16 rebounds, and 6 blocks was what he had put up. And out of all the players on both teams, he had the best stats. And so, showing his best performance, he won the first away game. And even though he lost the next 2 games by an 8-point deficit and lost the momentum, Ewing and his teammates didn't back down at all and blocked Jordan's path all the way. They did everything they could to stop his drives and support each other on defense, and if nothing could be done, they would just foul him. And inside the legal barrier, they did everything they could, and this defensive tactic did show Chicago's limits and was working to some extent. Entering the 6th game in a situation where the Knicks were losing 3-2, Patrick Ewing had gotten injured once again. He had snapped his ankle, so it looked like all was lost. But not wanting to fall short like this again, he went back on the court limping and kept playing the game. Even though he was injured, Patrick Ewing on this day had the most points out of both teams and won the game by a 14-point deficit, and the score was tied 3-all. And even though it was only the second round, it was the last 7th game, and both teams' nerves were almost as if they were in the finals. And Ewing, not wanting to lose this opportunity, played to his fullest. But that dedication, by Jordan's explosive 42 points, by a 29-point deficit, was completely shut down. And Ewing was not able to go past the Bulls once again. Michael Jordan had won his second championship already, and Ewing had to make a satisfying result this time. After winning the gold medal in the 1992 Barcelona Olympics, he prepared for the 92-93 season right away. And from the opening game, he showed much more improved defense than before. At the time, the New York Knicks showed the best team strategy compared to any, taking 60 wins and 22 losses coming first in the Eastern Conference. And this momentum went on to the playoffs as well, and Ewing, who went past the first and second round quickly, needed to win one more round to head to the finals, the third round. But coincidentally, Michael Jordan was waiting for him once again. But in the regular season, they beat Chicago 3 times out of 4, so this rough journey really looked like it would end in Ewing's favor this time. And at that time, the Knicks were the #1 team on defense, and living up to that name, they shut down Michael Jordan to only having 30% on success rates, and Ewing led the team to take down Chicago. In the second game, it was a similar pattern, and the Knicks had won 2 games in a row. And in the third game, with the focused pressure on Michael Jordan, they made him have only a 16% success rate. But Ewing's teammates' field goals were a complete mess. And on this day, they were shut down by Chicago's defense and showed poor performance. And on the other side, Jordan's teammates showed great point-getting performances, and as a result, Ewing lost by a 20-point deficit. And in the next 4th game, Jordan showed the power of a 7-time-in-a-row point leader and put up 54 points, taking the victory once again. And the Knicks tried their best to win the next game so they could regain the lead. But Michael Jordan's partner, Scottie Pippen, showed an outstanding performance, so as a result, the Knicks' defense could not hold on any longer. So, because of these duos' combo, Patrick Ewing and his teammates would kneel before the Chicago Bulls in the 5th and 6th game. Michael Jordan winning the championship 3 years in a row, and on the other side, losing 3 times in a row, Patrick Ewing. He was not able to accomplish anything and was at 31 years old. As the spotlight shined more on the winners, the shadow had gotten darker for the losers. And because of the boos of the fans and the pressure for the next season, Patrick Ewing's face had gotten darker every day. But just then, Michael Jordan had announced his retirement. And from that moment, the NBA was full of superstars trying to take that crown for themselves. And the player that was known to be the next for the throne was Patrick Ewing. And even though he was shadowed by Michael Jordan ever since high school and never ever got the spotlight, not anymore. There was no one stopping his path anymore.